Hello friends, welcome back to A Dog's Life in Liechtenstein. Well, summer's over, and I know that because recently, as is the tradition, the local farmers brought their cows down from the highest mountain pastures and back to their stables on their farms lower down. So, as the cows get tucked into their cozy stables, in this video, I want to show you two things from our summer. Firstly, as I mentioned in a previous video, a goal of our summer was to get Arthur used to water. Here's how it went. We started him off gently, encouraging him into the water with a favorite toy. This particular ball didn't float, but Arthur loved it so much he was even prepared to put his head underwater to retrieve it. Then, at a small, shallow lake near us, he learned to swim out to retrieve a floating toy. Next, we got him used to crossing moving water, so he would get used to a strong current. By midsummer, he was confident enough to retrieve a stick from quite far out and in deep water. By late summer, when we could finally travel to Vienna, Arthur was a strong enough swimmer to even swim with us in the Danube River. Now that he's a confident swimmer, next year I hope to introduce him to paddleboards and rafting. The second thing I'd like to show you in this video is a little different. This summer, we attended a fairly typical Austrian wedding in the beautiful region of Melk. Most of the guests stayed in the local hotel where the reception was held, overlooking the Danube River below. It was the perfect summer's day for a wedding, and now it was time to meet the other guests and head to the church. I'm sorry, Arthur, for this part you can't come, but you have food, water, a bone, and a comfy spot to relax. It's not so bad. We first met at the groom's home and formed a convoy of cars to drive down through his village to the next village and to the church. But we were stopped in the middle of his village by a barrier in the road put up by his friends from the local fire brigade. In order to pass the barrier, Tony and his bride-to-be Lena had several tasks to fulfill. Firstly, Tony had to separate some eggs and beat the whites. Then Lena had to finish the task and hold the bowl upside down over Tony's head. This task was about Tony helping Lena in their marriage, but also trusting her to finish tasks as well. Then on a table were rocks to represent difficult situations they may face in their future lives together. They had to build something with the stones, sort of the idea of when life gives you lemons, then make lemonade. After a couple of other small tasks to remind them to work together and still have fun with their friends, they finally, with the help of their friends and family, had to cut through the final barrier to their future lives together. With the way now clear, the bride and groom and all their guests could drive to the church. Tony grew up close to the beautiful Basilica Maria Tafel, and that was where we were headed, clear to see, standing on the hill in front of us. We had all had a lot of fun together, but had still managed to get the bride to the church on time. The basilica dates from 1660 and commands a wonderful view of the surrounding countryside and the Danube River below. One review of the basilica describes the interior as exuberant Baroque, and one can see why. Tony looked suitably nervous while he waited for Lena. Then suddenly she was at the door, and to a live rendition of Pachelbel's Canon in D, she walked down the aisle, between all her guests, looking very happy. The ceremony wasn't boring, but if it had been, there was plenty to occupy the eye and mind to pass the time. Because Lena is Russian, the basilica's priest had done a lovely thing by inviting a Russian Orthodox priest to conduct part of the service in Russian for her and her family. Back outside in the sunshine, Tony, who served in the Austrian Special Forces, was honored by the town's military veterans. And time for some photographs in the garden. for us all to walk up through the village to the hotel and celebrate their marriage. Tony and Lena had made sure that almost everything we ate and drank that evening had been locally sourced and was delicious. Of course, there was also a cake and music and all the usual wedding things. However, one Austrian tradition is that during the evening, some of the groom's friends steal his bride. He has to follow the sounds of traditional drinking songs to find her, usually in another restaurant. Then he has to make a passionate enough speech of why he loves her and wants her back, and pay a round of drinks, of course, to secure her release. A final lovely touch were the hangover kits Lena and Tony provided for their guests. A bottle of sparkling water and an aspirin with a note saying, "Thank you for celebrating with us." The next morning was perfect for breakfast on the terrace to enjoy the view and allow Arthur some time to play fetch before the long trip back to Liechtenstein. He's such a smart dog. He quickly understood that in order to play fetch, he had to keep bringing the toy back up onto the terrace so that we could throw it for him. Well, friends, I hope you've enjoyed seeing how well Arthur has come along with his swimming, and also some short insights into an Austrian wedding. Please like this video and subscribe, and leave a comment or ask a question if you have one about a dog's life in Liechtenstein. Until next time, goodbye from us and Arthur.